Hey guys, welcome back to Skald. My name is Joel, and today we are continuing our series on all the Dark Souls series bosses, matched from the worst to the best. Today joining me once again is Gabe.
Hey.
Yeah, so today we're kind of like right in the middle of our series, and we're in the transition stage between the bad bosses and the good bosses. And this video in particular is going to bother some people because a lot of the bosses on this list are kind of controversial as to where they should be. So, don't get offended. Again, just our opinions. So,
Yeah.
anyways, we're going to kick it off with number 51, the Executioner's Chariot.
Yep. This
So
boss
this
is just kind of
it's
it's just boring to me. Like, I really like certain aspects of it, but otherwise it's just the hallway may be just a little too long.
Yeah, and it is a very unique boss. I mean, there's no other boss quite like this where you had to
No.
dodge obstacles
Yeah.
to actually get to the boss. But those obstacles can be a little much. Like the skeletons, like they can just trap you in a corner and just keep hitting you until you die, and that's definitely not fun when trying to just fight a boss.
Yeah. There's also which I actually like, when you're fighting the boss and you just go shoot him until he, like, I think he dies that way, like he gets stuck up on the thing and is hanging.
And you could. It's kind of like a cheese almost, but it's a very unique thing that
Yeah.
they put into the game. One thing I don't like about this boss is the run up is horrible. It's very very annoying.
Oh yeah.
And it's even more annoying if you die to the skeletons because you feel like you haven't even gotten to the boss. But once you do get to the boss, it's not a particularly fun fight, but it's not not fun. It's not very hard, but it's not super easy, so it's kind of right in the middle there. But yeah, it's just a very unique fight. The boss kind of looks cool. The two-headed horse. Honestly, kind of reminds me of the reindeer in the snow place.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Definitely
it's.
does.
It's definitely just a unique concept, and I think when it comes to unique concepts, Dark Souls has a habit of, well, let's just say avoiding unique concepts is probably a good thing for Dark Souls. But they kind of did a pretty good job on this, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. And this part of the fight, this is definitely the best part,
Uh huh.
since it
It's-
actually feels like a challenge.
Yeah, like the other part's just kind of tedious. This part's just it's fighting a boss, so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And the boss, like, it's definitely like a good difficulty for all what you had to do to get here.
Uh huh. Like you're probably not gonna die to it, but at the same time, you can't be careless.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and the area is cool. I like how it's protecting a very good covenant, probably one of the best in Dark Souls 2, I'd
Dude,
say.
Yeah,
Really
definitely.
good covenant. That's 51, Executioner's Chariot. 50, The Last Giant.
He's like the
Um,
giant lord, but the last one.
Yeah. No, he's so much
Uh.
higher than the Giant Lord because as a first boss, he's actually not that bad. He doesn't really have a lot of return value for veteran
He
players.
actually has phases as well.
Yeah, like the way he rips off his arm and just starts swinging it at you. It's really
Yeah.
cool, and I think it threw a lot of people off at first. Like, dude, what are you doing? But he's not particularly difficult. But if you're fighting him for the
Nuh-uh.
first time, he is a challenge. Like you kind of had to watch
Yeah.
where he's stepping and
If you
stuff.
don't know what he's doing, definitely.
And the camera does get a little wonky at some points in this fight,
Well,
but
that's just Dark Souls 2.
that's Dark Souls too. Well, that's all the Dark Souls, I feel like. But
Yeah, especially 2. Like, replaying 2, I've noticed the camera, like, it switches weirdly.
But he's not a bad boss. He's not really a particularly good boss. So he's at number 50, right in the middle of pretty much
Yeah.
everything. So on to 49, we have Vort of the Boreal Valley. Now this isn't the first boss technically in Dark Souls 3, but it is kind of the first.
Still a tutorial.
Yeah, like it's the first out of tutorial boss, I'd say. Like
Yeah.
Udex Gundyr is a really good, first boss, but this is the first boss you fight that actually feels like it's part of the game and not just the tutorial.
You made a good point with this boss before. Like, Gundyr is the humanoid like training boss, and he almost feels like a beast training boss.
Yeah, like he's the training boss that you like kind of learn to fight. The dancer a little bit. Osiris is kind of modeled after him. I think
Yes.
some of the
The wolf, the DLC.
yeah, and I'd even say the demon princes. So yeah, you kind of learn how to fight his type of boss.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they did in Bloodborne with Father Gascoigne and the Cleric Beast. But he's pretty easy. He has okay lore.
Instead, coming in here with a dark weapon is funny.
Yeah,
He's
not-
just destroyed.
yeah, not very hard if you know what you're doing. So that's why it's this low. 48 is Sanctuary Guardian. So this one, I think this is another one where people can have different experiences on it.
Yeah.
I
It's kind of
find-
forgettable.
Yeah, I find that he jumps around a lot more than I would like him to. Like, it's very annoying how much. I found it's almost like fighting Sif or someone like that. It
So,
was just,
sort of like Nameless King, first part.
yeah. Like, I just had trouble getting to him because every time I walked over to him, he just would start spamming projectiles, jumping. See, look, I think this, I go and run and yet he just jumps away. But I guess that does make him a bit of a challenge because you kind of have to time your attacks properly. Makes him kind of annoying to fight, but it's still really cool design. I like how he's like a chimera. And I also like how once you defeat him and then you defeat Artorias, you go back into the room and there's two of him, and you're like, uh-oh.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're just like, no. He also has a tail weapon, which it's fun, but it's not very good.
Yeah, I mean, whips in general, especially in Dark Souls 1, aren't very good. This is probably, I'd say, the best
It
whip.
does bleeding, right?
Yeah, it does bleeding. I think his whip is the best weapon against the Asylum Demon, or one of the best bleed weapons against the Asylum Demon. So, there's that. I tried to actually get his tail, and I think I only got one hit on it. But
It's pretty hard to get with how much he jumps around.
yeah. But, there's not much lore that I can think of behind him. I mean, he's a Sanctuary Guardian, but it doesn't really explain who put him there, how he got there,
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just design-wise, it's just kind of a chimera from Greek mythology.
Cool, but not insanely,
Yeah.
good as a boss.
Yeah.
But, he's there.
Mm-hmm.
Guardian to them. 47, the Ancient Smelter Demon. Now, this one,
Yeah.
you can have a really strong opinion on either way, solely because of the area
love this
he's
boss.
in. The boss himself is, I'd say, one of the best boss in Dark Souls 2. Like, I put him probably number 5 in Dark Souls 2. The problem with him is that he is in probably one of the worst areas in the entire, Dark Souls 2 game. It's
Then I
so
have a-
annoying trying to get to him.
Yeah. I have a few friends who just absolutely hate the Smelter Demons in general because, I don't know, maybe because they're difficult in Dark Souls 2.
I don't know. I
Right.
think they did a good job, especially with this one, because he delays some of his attacks and it throws you off.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. I think that's a
And-
wise thing to do in Dark Souls.
They took away the worst parts about the Smelter Demons, which was magnet walls, and it made him actually a fun fight. Like, it's actually a challenge, which Dark Souls 2 doesn't have much of those.
Yeah.
So, I love this fight.
Yeah, and it's another one of those fights that you kind of see how far you've come from fighting the original Smelter Demon. 'Cause he is a lot harder. You can't really mess up a few times on him or you're in trouble. And you could get his sword along with the other Smelter Demon's sword, and you know make fireworks. Yeah. But again, like everything about this boss himself, I don't think we really have much negative to say about him.
It's
but
just the run up.
the run up
ruined it.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good type of difficult, but that difficulty also makes it so when you die to him, you have to go through the run up again and again and again, and it just gets so.
But
dull.
if you do it 15 times, hey, at least you don't got to worry about as much enemies.
Yeah. Just kill all the enemies over and over again, and you won't have to worry about it. But then who wants to do that? So.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't like how by the time you get to him, like your weapons are almost broken, so you had to use them.
Oh yeah.
At least they do provide you with people to. They do provide you with NPCs to help you get through the area.
They're not horrible either.
Yeah.
They're not as good as real players, but they're awful.
Yeah, and they still help you a little bit getting there, divert some attention.
The worst part about the run for me is just the random smelter hammer guy.
Oh, yeah, just right in the middle of his boss room.
Like, you don't need to be there.
But he's a good boss, just had the misfortune of being put in a horrible area, so he's down here.
Yeah.
So, another controversial one, Manus, Father of the Abyss. Now, I know some people would put him in the top 10, but we found that when we fought him again, his moves, well, the whole boss fight himself, it just wasn't memorable. It was kind of boring. Some people think he's the hardest boss in the game, and he's difficult, I would say, but hardest boss in the game, probably not.
You know his moves, he's actually fairly easy. He's got really easy roll frames, which doesn't make him any, like, bad. It's just...
Yeah.
I think people give him too much when they put him in, like, their top 5 or whatever.
Now, granted, I don't really know his moves. I think I've only fought him 2 or 3 times, so I didn't do as well against him as I probably should have.
Yeah. They also gave him super easy cheese.
Yeah, I like that. She's the...
Yeah.
I actually had it in the video, but you couldn't see him. But you can actually see him out of the boss room, and you could just shoot him with arrows again and again, and he'll just run out of life.
Yep.
And another really cool thing, I think this is amazing about this boss, is that if you free Sif from her prison, you could summon her. She doesn't do a whole lot, but it's still cool because you actually have to summon her inside the boss room, which is, I think, a unique thing. I don't think there's any other boss that does that. And also, you're fighting with Sif, who, you know, everybody loves Sif.
Also, Manus is like the most evil thing of the Abyss. Like, I don't know, beating it kind of feels like a personal victory.
Yeah. But like his moves he's just not a memorable boss. I don't know what to say about that, but whenever somebody asks me, "Oh, which boss did you like from Dark Souls 1?" I never think of Manus.
No.
I think Artorias, like, sure. I think of Ornstein and Smo, but Manus is just... He's like the big bad that you just kind of forget about.
Yeah. But when we were talking about it, like, our boss list, I kind of forgot what Manus's boss list is like, so I had to go look it up. I'm like, oh, that's right.
Yeah. Just not a very memorable one. And then when you do get in there, his attacks, they just come back to you really fast, and you can easily avoid most of them.
And, like, my brother, he says he has trouble healing on this boss. I'm like, when?
Yeah.
There's not much times he really rushes you when you're healing. Like, there is times, but it's not horrible.
I think he actually gave me a lot of opportunities to heal.
Yeah.
And that's shown because I got down to, I think, 3 Estus. Out of like the 20 I had. So, you know, he can definitely do some damage to you, but he's just not memorable.
I kind of do like his the run up, like
Mm.
before him, it's like you're running through the abyss.
Yeah, and I like his
And
arena.
he's-
His arena's good.
Yeah.
So 45, Sin the Slumbering Dragon, yet another controversial one. Some people would have him higher or lower.
Some people
Um,
would have him much lower.
Yeah. But
This boss is actually fairly fun.
uh-huh.
Like, it's kind of like the lost my train of thought. It's kind of like Calamite, but like much easier, of course. Like, you're just, I don't know, you're fighting a dragon, and it's like he has actually good moves.
Yeah. No, for me, I know we didn't do this for you. Our file got corrupted and I had to end up fighting him. But for me, he did a lot of the staying in the air tactic. So,
Yeah,
so
that's
a lot
the
of
worst part about him.
yeah, a lot of people will have different experiences. If he keeps going up into the air, then yeah, you're gonna have a bad time. But you know, when he stays on the ground, it's actually a legitimately fun fight. Like you have to
Yeah.
watch yourself. You have to be really careful. His moves are somewhat unpredictable, and that makes the boss fight pretty fun. And also he has a special trait that his scales are extremely hard. So
Yeah.
you actually he forces you to change weapons. And in the past, we've said that that's a bad thing. I think in this boss, it's a good thing because that's actually meant to be part of the boss.
Yeah.
And you can't just rely on the one weapon you've been using the whole time. Or you can, but you'd have to heal your weapon midway through the fight.
Yeah, just have repair powder on bar.
Um,
Yeah, but this boss gets a lot of discredit I don't think it deserves.
Yeah, and I think he killed me a couple times because I went right into fighting him without the classic Dark Souls 2 lead up, getting back into the game. So he was definitely a challenge for me, but it wasn't.
I think I first tried him when I played.
Yeah, and I could tell that if I was into it and I remembered to manage my stamina and my roll times, he wouldn't be nearly as difficult as I found him. So, yeah, I think
People
we put
also
him in
get
the good place.
intimidated by him.
I mean, he's a dragon, so people are honestly gonna get intimidated by a dragon.
Yeah.
And I'd say he's the Dark Souls 2 version of Calamite and Midir. I think that's kind of safe to say. So,
Yeah.
Slumbering
It's just not
Dragon
as good
Sin.
as them.
So 44, the Iron Golem. This one, I actually think I put it in twice, maybe not, but he's honestly not a very hard fight, but it's definitely cool. Like his design's really cool. It's very
Yeah.
intimidating,
He's
and he has
also-
some cool mechanics.
Yeah. Once you beat him, you're like, hey, I finally made it to Anor Londo.
He's like
Which is,
that
like,
at the halfway point of
feels
the game
good.
almost,
Yeah.
or a third way point.
There's Tarkus, which is one of my favorite NPCs, story-wise, in the Soul series. And there's also... He's the legend that skipped leg day.
Yeah.
He starts smacking his legs, he starts shaking and falling. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And I figured out the combustion just destroys his poise.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Fire destroys everything about him.
And yeah, he's not too hard, so that's why we have him this low.
No.
But he's definitely a cool boss, cool lore, cool design. Just could have been a little bit harder for where he was.
Yeah.
So, anyways, 43. We have the Afflicted Grave Robber, Ancient Soldier Varg, and Seer the Old Explorer. Another controversial one. People are probably going to hate us for putting this guy up here this far, or these guys, I should say.
This one, we like it because, or at least I like it, because it's a fun one for summons. Like, it's one you feel like you should summon on.
Yeah, it's one of the two bosses that we actually summoned each other for, and it was a very, very fun fight. Like it was a little bit of a challenge. We got low health at some points, but we actually killed him faster than we thought. And once you deal with one of them, it becomes so much easier.
Oh yeah, when two people can focus on one at a time, like as you see when I come over.
Yeah, and then we both just focus on Varg, and he just totally gets annihilated. Now fighting them alone is certainly very possible. You just have to be very aware of what everyone's doing, and manage everyone very well.
They understand much. Just do random backstabs in there.
Yeah, and I mentioned before I really don't like NPC boss fights, but I think this boss fight it's meant to be a multiplayer one, and it becomes much more fun when you treat it like that.
It's like a 3v. Like if you get another person, it's like a 3v3 PvP.
So yeah, pretty fun boss fight. So that's why we have him this high. Sorry if you don't agree, but
Yeah.
we also don't like his area, but again, becomes manageable if you have a summon. So 42, and I believe this is the last on our list, we have Duke's Dear Freya. Yet another controversial boss. Duke's Dear Freya would be a pretty forgettable boss if not for the fact that her design is just kind of really cool. Like, she looks very intimidating. I pity anybody who is afraid of spiders when they come to this boss fight.
This boss is also not very fun doing alone. Or it's hard.
Yeah. Possible,
Definitely when you
but
have
definitely hard.
people, it makes it much easier.
So this boss fight, all you can attack are 2 heads, and then if you hit their heads enough, then they come off. Yeah. And I've actually been fighting this boss and had people with warmth heal the boss in the middle of the fight, and troll me by healing her and then cutting off both of the heads. And then once you do that, you can't kill her. She just kind of runs around wailing her legs and stuff.
Use a hope. So that's the game.
And you can cheese this boss by just encouraging her to do the laser beam attack over and over, which is pretty easy. But if you don't know what you're doing or you just get careless, it can kill you, especially if you don't take out her little spider minions. She
her
can
legs
be
are
quite
also painful.
Yeah, they hit hard when they hit. But yeah, she's definitely not a bad boss. She has a pretty cool lore in that she's like the Duke's pet, and because he was so fond of spiders, it basically ruined Tesseldora. Not many people know about her lore though. It's kind of hidden, and she's just like another boss. So I think that's a problem. And the run up. Oh, you go.
As soon as you get she gets one of the best spells in the game on New Game Plus, or if you use Bonfire Aesthetic with Crystal Soul Spear, or even the Moonlight Greatsword if you're a Strength Magistic user. They're really good.
Both really good. Well, spell and weapon.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't really like about her at all is her run up. She's not a very hard boss, but if you die to her, you had to run through a lot just to get to her.
Very annoying. Yeah.
Definitely not one of the worst run-ups in the game, but it's still pretty bad.
It's just a lot of spoders.
Yeah, but she has cool design, and she's a fairly decent boss. She's a Dark Souls boss. She belongs.
She is
in the
difficult.
game. Yeah. So with that, we are just about done. If you like the video, then like and subscribe, hit the bell button to get notifications, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks, and see you guys later.